It's not often that I get to my feet in this chamber with reluctance or a sense of feeling heavy-hearted. I always enjoy the cut and thrust of debate. In this place, the battle of ideas, the to and fro with colleagues, sometimes as friends, sometimes as opponents, but not today. Today represents a low point because I am afraid to say it is an example of where the ability of this place as a legislature to scrutinise the executive, as it is meant to do, has been utterly undermined. To recap, the Constitution, External Affairs and Culture Committee is conducting an inquiry into the rule bill, if I could call it that, and as per Chapter 9b of Standing Orders, must report on the LCM in due course. That is established parliamentary process mandated by law. Our committee has just initiated this inquiry and we have begun taking evidence. A week or so ago, we have other evidence sessions to come, for instance, from the Cabinet Secretary. We have also invited a UK Government Minister, and given this is a UK Government bill, it might be thought important, imperative even, that we allow the UK Government the opportunity to give evidence. The DPLR Committee is also looking at the bill. Now, notwithstanding the significant work just being started on this topic by both committees, the Scottish Government has scheduled this debate on the matter at short notice. Now, last week, all that Parliament had notice of was a debate on EU retained law, just a reference to a corpus of law, nothing more, nothing less. And it was only after that had been agreed by Parliament that discussions in committee and with the Scottish Government last Thursday revealed to me what the real purpose of this debate was. Now, hold on a second. Yes.
Fergus Ewing.
I'm most grateful to Mr Cameron for giving way, Presiding Officer, and of course the parliamentary proceedings, as has been ruled by you, will continue. But I do recall that during the 2016 referendum on EU membership, a substantial majority of Conservative MSPs were Remainers, in fact, staunch Remainers, and many of them said so in public and volubly. Are we now to take it, Presiding Officer, that there are no Remainers remaining on the Tory Holyrood benches? And can I ask Mr Cameron if it is the case that in Scotland the Remainers have, if you like, been remaindered by Rishi?
Donald Cameron.
Well, not quite sure of the purpose of that intervention, but I voted Remain. That's on record. And I'm not naive to the politics of this debate. The Cabinet Secretary will know who in the Scottish Government had informed the committee clerks of this debate. But the fact remains, it's occurring on a subject where MSPs and parliamentary staff on two separate committees are midway through extensive scrutiny of evidence and in the process of compiling detailed reports on the bill in line with an obligatory process of this Parliament for LCMs. It is clear this debate is plainly premature, now I've taken an intervention, and contrary to the principle of proper and objective scrutiny by this Parliament. And by holding this debate now, that process, the entirety of that scrutiny process, has been undermined. What is the purpose of our committee continuing to look at this bill when by 5 p.m. tonight Parliament will have expressed a simple view on the matter? That has caused upset and frustration on many levels. The staff of our committee are placed in a very difficult position of effectively having their carefully organised timetable and work interrupted at whim. They have spent weeks organising witnesses in preparation for writing a very difficult and technical report, as they are obliged to do in line with standing orders. And the approach from the Scottish Government is an insult to them and their hard work. It renders later evidence sessions very difficult, as they will be coloured by the political contributions of any committee MSP participating this afternoon. Now, we hear two frequent refrains in this chamber. First, that the UK Government does not send ministers to give evidence to our committees, and more widely, the UK Government does not respect the Scottish Parliament. Well, how much less plausible, less effective are those charges now? Because the lack of respect here comes from one government alone, and it's the one sitting on those benches. Why would a UK Government minister give evidence to the committee when the Parliament will, by 5 o'clock tonight, have debated this issue and expressed a view on a UK Government bill? Why would they come? Moreover, how could they expect a fair hearing from an objective committee in the light of a prior parliamentary debates when MSPs on the committee will be on record voting and calling for the bill to be scrapped. There are other witnesses to think about too. We have 6 witnesses due to give evidence on Thursday. 6 witnesses who have submitted written evidence. 6 witnesses who have taken time out of their schedules to prepare for and attend the committee. Why should they bother? Parliament will have expressed a view on the bill, and if the Scottish Government motion passes, Parliament's view will be that the entire bill should be scrapped. End of story. Anything they say now is rendered pointless. What room is left for nuance, for subtlety, for the balance of opinion, all to be taken into account in our committee report? And it also makes life very awkward for the convener. She has to chair the upcoming evidence sessions on the bill in a neutral manner, and thus is unable to speak in today's debate, when she would, of course, have much to contribute, as she always does. This debate puts her in a very difficult position. And as deputy convener, it's less difficult for me, but if for whatever reason I had to substitute for her, how can I do so in an objective capacity? We are placed in a wholly invidious position of being forced to debate this bill whilst at the same time trying to hear evidence and come to a collective view as a committee in our LCM report, as we are obliged by law to do. Now, the Constitution Committee has somewhat remarkably, given its title and the subject matter it engages with, achieved consensus on a wide variety of topics so far this session. It's one of the best committees I've sat on as an MSP. Every member brings different insights and experiences to our discussion, and even in the most difficult of circumstances, we have somehow managed to find a form of words to agree on. But how on earth do we draft a consensual report when the Scottish Government has blown a hole through this inquiry with a debate like this? Now, the proper process would, of course, been to allow debate after the evidence sessions have finished. We did that with the Northern Ireland Protocol Bill. We could have done it with this bill. And to those who say, well, Parliament sometimes debates matters which are the subject of ongoing committee inquiries, my answer is this. This is a legislative consent process. It's a defined procedure, not least because the subject matter is UK legislation, not Scottish Government legislation, and involves a subject area that is not prima facie within the remit of this Parliament. It's very different territory. That's why when it comes to LCMs, the standing orders are so clear, providing that a motion seeking the Parliament's consent to a UK bill shall not normally be lodged until after the publication of the lead committee's report. After the publication of the lead committee's report. And that rule is there to protect the integrity of the committee, its members, and perhaps more importantly, its staff, who are the ones working so hard in the compiling of that report. Now, we might not technically be within the letter of those rules, but we are quite plainly within the spirit of those rules. Now, I have no objection whatsoever to debating the rule bill, and I heard the whisper of the Cabinet Secretary saying that I was frightened of debating this. I have no objection, but only at the proper time. I want to hear the evidence. It's an important piece of legislation which requires a full and rigorous debate. And I can remind the Cabinet Secretary that as counsel I acted for the Scottish Government, for his own government, in the European Court of Justice just a few years ago. EU law is my meat and drink, and there is nothing I would like to do more than debate the substance of this bill. In fact, I would go further. I have some misgivings about certain aspects of this bill as drafted, and the real tragedy of what has transpired today is that there might have been an opportunity for the Parliament to speak as one on this bill, with every party in agreement. But any goodwill that might have existed in that regard has vanished. And in pushing for a short-term tactical hit, the Scottish Government have rendered that impossible. And this isn't about semantics. It's about the scrutiny of the executive by the legislature. And with every passing day, this Parliament feels weaker and weaker as an institution. And what a sadness.